Welcome back to another episode of Auto Amateur, and like deja vu, it's another exhaust video featuring Soul Performance products. In this video, we're going to be installing the X-Pipe on my 991.2. We're going to be doing the DIY, we're going to be doing the sound test, the road test, and then we're going to be talking about the valved exhaust, which is going to be going on next before we do the comparison. But right now, it's all about the X-Pipe, so let's get into it. All right, so what's an X-Pipe and why should you care? Well, it's lighter than the factory sports exhaust. It's even lighter than the factory exhaust, period. We're taking out the center muffler from the back of the car and we're replacing it with this lighter weight, higher flow X-Pipe from Soul Performance products. Now, you don't have to remove the bumper in theory to do this job, and it can help to remove the rear wheels. So if you can get your car off the ground, that's definitely a help, even just with a couple of jack stands. I fortunately have got a lift here, so we're going to be putting the car up and down, up and down. Now, we did find with this job that we had one rusted bolt in a really hard to get to place, and it wasn't gonna come out without some better access. So that was one reason we ended up removing the bumper in this video. The second is that we just wanted to give you guys a better view. So in this video, as we're doing the DIY install, you're gonna get to see right in above the cat. So you're gonna get to see all around the muffler as it comes off and as the new system goes back on. And hopefully this should be a helpful video. And then after that, we're gonna go and play. We're gonna go and listen to this baby in action. And I'll tell you right now, it sounds awesome. Exactly how awesome and how it differs from the PSE, we'll be talking about later on in the video. But for now, let's just get to it. All right, so let's see what they've given us. We've got the X-Pipe, of course, and you know, I'm most excited about the two decals that they've put inside with the packaging. That's awesome. Thank you very much, guys. All right, so we got a couple of mounting brackets, which are going to change up slightly the way that the exhaust is mounted on the back of the car, because this is obviously a lot smaller than the factory muffler. So this is probably going to hold in place on the back here. You can see we've got a couple of screws that are coming out, which will require bolts. So that's the bolt-on part. We've got two clamps here for these pipes. These pipes, I'm going to find out exactly how they fit in a moment when we look at the back of the car. And then we've got washers. And these are the things I was most interested in. I'm glad I don't have to come up with some kind of duct tape solution, because we're taking off vacuum lines from the factory muffler to put on this X-Pipe, which doesn't have any valves. We've got two vacuum lines just sitting around there. So I'm going to tie those off. But here we've got plugs for the vacuum lines, two vacuum line plugs. That's really helpful. And then a couple of washers here and there. So let's get to it. All right, let's take a look at the center muffler we're going to be removing. And this is it, obviously, in the center, the rear of the car. You can see I've got the factory exhaust tips. I'm going to be reusing those. Now, before we start talking about the exhaust itself, just taking a step back, when I worked on my friend Chris's GT3 Touring with him, we didn't remove the rear bumper to do this job. And it actually worked out pretty fine with the space that we were able to make using this lift. So I'm tempted to do the same here. For starters, I think I'm gonna leave the bumper on. But so here's the center muffler. It's connected by two brackets here, which I can get to without worrying about the bumper. And then we've got two pipes that are coming out of the muffler and going into the cat. Two brackets on each. I think I'm going to need to reuse these. Sol gave me 2 brackets for these bigger pipes. So assuming they're not rusted completely, I can reuse those. And then let's take a look under the back here. You can see that the muffler is mounted to this bracket on the back of the car. Sol have given me another bracket, or 2 brackets actually, to make up for the size difference between the factory muffler and the Sol muffler. And then in here, actually better view from underneath here, we've got the valves for the sports exhaust. So I need to take off the lines, plug them, and then that's all I need to do about the valves. So one way to remove this center muffler is to loosen up the cat and give yourself some wiggle room. You can see here I've got a good couple of inches between the side of the car and the cat to make use of. In order to do that, I'll need to just loosen some of the bolts here around this connection and take off the heat shielding here. They're just a bolt here and a bolt there for now. And that gives me some wiggle room. The other way to do this potentially is to actually leave the cat attached to the muffler and take off the cat completely from the header and drop it all, and then attach what I need to attach on the floor and then bring it all up again. That's definitely going to be a 2-person job. Chris is coming over to help me with this install, so I will have another set of hands, thankfully. But we'll see how we go. I think I'm going to try and wiggle it out first, and then we'll go from there. So we've got clamp here on the big pipe that's been taken off, and these two are inside one another. Same up here. Those bolts were pretty rusted, but we got them off with a bit of leverage. Over on this side, this pipe actually has a space and it's covered up by the clamp. And then here, it's also connected. So what, are we gonna loosen up the headers and the cats so we can get a bit of wiggle room?
Yeah, I'm curious if we just take the clamps off, how much space we have. We're probably definitely gonna have to loosen the cats anyway, just to be able to get the new pipe in.
Yeah.
I don't know how much space we have to work with, so we might have to just loosen the cats all the way up.
Or even maybe just one.
Maybe one, so we can shift it over just a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do the straps around the center muffler and then we'll see what we got to work with. So the heat shielding has been an absolute pain in the ass to get off. I'm gonna try and show you the last nut that we found. It's basically right in here, right there. And in order to get to it, I'm gonna have to use a wobble extension. Not that I've ever used one before, but we're gonna see if it works. It's kind of right in there. Okay, so far the job has not been quite as straightforward as I thought it was going to be. There is a bolt on top of the heat shielding of one of the cats and the O2 sensors that have rusted and they don't want to budge. So in order to get to them, we have decided to take off the bumper and we're going to be taking off the heat shielding. So hopefully we just need to do this once, and when we replace the X-pipe for the valved muffler later on, after we do the test of the X-pipe, hopefully it should go a lot smoother, and we're feeling the pain in this first job. But you know, if nothing else, you guys get the added benefit of being able to see further into the car and what we're working on. So Chris is in the background getting the heat shielding off. Let's go. So here is the factory Porsche Sports Exhaust center muffler, and you can see here the valves, and you can see that the clamps are still on, which I'm going to be reusing for the sole system, which is here. But it's quite interesting to just sit these things side by side in comparison. I haven't put them on the scale, which I'm going to do, but there's definitely a weight difference between the two, and the sole system is much lighter, or at least it feels much lighter than the factory. So we're going to get this on now. Let's take a quick look though at the car. A couple of things I just want to point out to anybody that might be attempting to do this job. Obviously we've taken off the rear bumper. That became necessary when it became impossible to get one of the bolts out from the heat shielding on top of the driver's side cat here. The heat shielding here's the cat that was actually on here on the top. I had to drill that in the end with a Dremel, but there you can see the heat shields on top of the factory cat, so they're going back on this time. Here's the heat shielding and the bumper from the rear of the car that we had to take off after we removed the bumper so that we could get proper access here. And basically what it was, we needed a clear shot in this way to one of the bolts on top. And then the reasons for taking off the wheels were we needed a straight shot in this way to get to another nut that was on the heat shielding. And there just didn't seem to be any way of getting the center muffler out by shimmying the cats left and right to the outside of the car. We were able to do that with Chris's Touring. Maybe it's because it's got less miles, maybe it's because it wasn't all rusted up like my factory components were, but I actually think at the end of the day there just wasn't the room, Even loosening the bolts on the cats, we just couldn't get the cats out wide enough to get the factory muffler out. So anyway, we're now ready to go. We've got a couple of bolts which are going to fit into some brackets that Soul Performance have given us to go on here on the back of the car. The cats are going to go back on. I think we're actually going to put the cats on loosely onto the muffler before we raise it and put it on the car. And then also, let's just take a look at some of the tools we've been using. Tommy L Garage, I've been watching his videos about his exhaust mods. These wobbly extenders, they allow the socket heads to wobble, quote unquote. I don't know if I've got one here that's going to fit real quick, but anyway, it means that you can go in at a certain angle, but actually have a slightly different approach to where the head is fitting into the nuts. Super helpful. We couldn't have got the heat shielding off without one of these. Wrenches and sockets, of course. I've got a whole set of metric wrenches here, which go up to 23 millimeters. You needed the 22 millimeter wrench to get the O2 sensors off. These were also a little bit of a pain to get out. They're kind of rusted in place, but there's one here and there's one there. And then we've got the vacuum lines here. We've got a plug that we're going to be putting in there that Soul provided. So that's going to help with the X pipe, which obviously doesn't have valves. And then over here, I've got a few more wrenches. These are really helpful. And they allow you to, wrench and move without having to take the wrench off every single time. And then, you can't go wrong with a good light. But that's it. Let's go and get this muffler mounted on the car. Also amateurs, show me. Yeah.
Very much.
I love it.
about -10 degrees Celsius here today, so I don't know how long my GoPro cameras are gonna last, so let's do this. And we're gonna keep it off sports mode just for now. See what it's like inside the cabin. And then we'll turn the sport mode on when we're gonna do a bit of revving and some standing starts. But immediately after turning the ignition on, you know that something's different about the car. It's like going from watching regular kind of, you know, digital TV, or just like a regular TV, and then plugging in surround sound, because the sound of the exhaust is really kind of everywhere now. It's not overwhelming, and at this speed I'm doing about 50. There's no drone, but you definitely know for sure that something's different about the car. Now again, I'm in normal mode, and as I'm going down through the gears and up through the gears, I'm not hearing any bubbles, any pops and crackles, which was basically the same with my sports exhaust. Now we're going to put the sport on, and you can just, I guess, going between third and second, you can hear like a couple of little pops and crackles. Yeah, they're definitely there. They're definitely there. I wouldn't say it's dramatically louder in here, but it's definitely louder in the cabin. But again, no drone. But you know what we like to do in these situations? Come on. We're going to do a standing start, and we're going to do launch control. So let's see. Oh, Soul Performance, baby. X-Pipe. Let's go. Lost a little bit of traction there. Like I say, it's really cold, and even with my winter tires, I guess the car's just going to do what it's going to do. But I mean, amazing. I don't know if I'm getting extra flow, extra power. Something feels different for sure over the sports exhaust. It sounds fantastic here though. I'm hearing a few pops and crackles, but to be perfectly honest, nothing like I was getting from my sports exhaust. Not as many pops and crackles as the sports exhaust. So I'm getting like a louder tone. I'm getting a fuller tone, but it doesn't have the nuance that the Porsche Sports Exhaust have. But you know, if you want to go for volume, if you want to go for a full sound, I think the X-Pipe's the way to go. All right, let's do it again. Woo! Come on, baby. Oh my goodness, yeah. That's epic. That's really good. Again though, I think I am losing a little bit of the nuance from the Porsche Sports Exhaust, because of course I had the valves, and the valves are going off and coming on. I suppose, you know, arguably once the valves are open, they're open. But as you put the X-Pipe next to the valved exhaust, you can see that the design of the valved exhaust is a little more complicated. There's a little more piping that's in there, and you know for sure that there's going to be a difference in sound. So I guess what we got to do is take off the X-Pipe now and get the valved exhaust installed and see what happens.
Well guys, thanks for checking in for another video. What a monster of a video for a monster exhaust. Super happy with the X-Pipe. I've got to say, I am really excited to see what the difference is going to be between this and the valved exhaust, which is kind of right behind me there, which is going to be going on. Oh, yeah, you saw it. This morning, my daughter painted my nails. I wonder if that's elsewhere in the video. Anyway, doesn't matter. Thanks for checking in. The new exhaust, the valved exhaust, is going to be going on in a few days' time. Play this video back again and again. The reason I like to chop up the sound test is so you can hear before, after, before, after, before, after, as you go. For anybody considering the X-Pipe or any Soul Performance products, I am now an authorized reseller for Soul. And if you go to autoamateur.com, you can not only find a bunch of Soul products there, but I can give you good pricing. So hit me up. See you in another video soon. Bye.